I think it's recording. Let me just check. Yeah, it's recording. Oops! Okay. Ready? Okay. Go ahead.
What is the mission of FilmDevil.com? What was the original motivation behind the development of the website?
Well, the mission started when I applied to a whole bunch of festivals when I made a movie about 1.5 years ago. And I decided to apply to a whole bunch of festivals, but the problem was on the internet there's no real good place to find a list of festivals and that sort of thing. So I decided after I would apply to all these festivals that I would create a website that had the most comprehensive database of festivals available on the internet, because there were several websites that already did that, but they did them very poorly. And I wanted to make a tool for filmmakers to kind of search for festivals that fit their needs. And there was no real list on the internet that was good like that.
What are the functions of the website?
So the functions are basically several of the features is the main thing, which is the database of festivals, which basically there are about 1,600 festivals in the world, and our intention was to have all those festivals, or at least a percentage of them, update their information. So we're going to have a profile for each festival, including information like how much it costs to get into the festival, the dates of entry, the dates of the festival, location, descriptions, all that sort of thing. Many of these fields are searchable. So the idea is that once all that information is in there, the feature is for filmmakers to then visit the website, and then they can search by all of these parameters. So if a filmmaker has a film and he's looking to send it to a festival, say it's a documentary, it's about 13 minutes long, he's in New York, he wants to apply to festivals in the East Coast, and he only has $30 per festival, you can search by all those options and say, show me all the festivals that meet these criteria, and quickly look at their profiles without having to go to their website.
Describe the technology that drives the website.
Well, the technology was pretty interesting. We're using a MySQL database backend with a PHP interface. And basically PHP is very similar to Perl, so I had a lot of experience with Perl before this, but never with PHP, so it was pretty easy kind of to code the whole website. The MySQL database is very straightforward, but the biggest feature about them is that they're both free products. They're open source products, which means it's very easy to find servers and hosting sites that provide those services for very cheap. So our total cost of doing this was next to nothing, because the monthly fees for the hosting is very cheap.
Why did you choose FilmDevil.com as your internet domain name? Do you believe it will build strong brand equity?
FilmDevil.com. Well, originally I wanted it to have a name of an animal in the domain name, so that we could, my friend who I made this with, he draws very well, so he would, if we had done it, drew a picture of the animal or something, and that would have been our big draw, and the kind of our little pet animal or something. Unfortunately, we wanted a animal to be in the name, so we wanted alliteration. But film ferret doesn't sound very cool, and film fish is less cool. So because my friend can draw all kinds of stuff, and he kind of thought of the name, he said Film Devil, and it kind of stuck. Because he draws real well, he drew all these these pictures of a little red head with horns sticking out of him, and this badass devil guy is now our front man for our website. And I think it's pretty catchy.
What is your e-business model? content sponsorship, distribution, market mix component?
Well, I guess that's really asking how we plan to make money. And the thing about our site is that it really costs so little to create, basically nothing except our time, which I guess you could argue costs a lot of money, but I'm not sure. And the cost of hosting, which is roughly $150 a month, which is a year. I'm sorry, $150 a year to run the site. So basically, there are no operating costs. So if we make a dime off of this, we'll be lucky. But the way we intend to make money, hopefully, the original intent was to have, after around 6 months of the site operating, to have all these film festivals, participating, updating their information, try to get around half or 30 to 40% of the festivals kind of in the mix. And once you have them doing it, you release the whole thing to the filmmakers, and after a little while see, once everybody's using it, then you have the keys to a successful e-commerce site, I think, or e-business, because now your website is only drawing a specific group of people, and it's very targeted towards filmmakers. So things that we would be doing would be selling advertising to film companies, that sort of thing, and probably charging festivals later on to be listed. An interesting thing is that there is a book available called it's by a guy named Chris Gore, who did this book called Film Threat, which basically was a list of 600 film festivals that he went out and researched. The book came out in its first print. It was free for all the film festivals to be listed in the book. Because of its success, its second edition charged money to the festivals to be listed, and that was how he made money. That's kind of interesting. So that's kind of what we want to do.
Who are your competitors? What is FilmDevil's competitive advantage?
Well, the beauty of our site is that it's nobody's really tried to do this in such volume. There are several festival database websites that are on the internet. One is called FilmFestivals.com, which is a very poorly run site out in France that always goes down and has 6 years of outdated data. There's another one in Europe that's just a collection of European film festivals, about 400 festivals there. And there's another one in America with mostly American festivals that only has around 300 festivals. But these are all really kind of poor websites, and they don't provide real features and real tools for the filmmakers in as comprehensively as our site does, including several things like writing reviews about the festivals by the filmmakers, and allowing festivals to really actively participate in the mix. Most of them are just one time. A festival goes, fills out a crappy little questionnaire, and then never comes back to the site to update anything.
What is your target market? What is your current marketing strategy to reach that target market? And do you have current or future plans to include international markets?
Well, our target market is clearly filmmakers and film festivals. It's the whole filmmaking community, and I think it's a very tightly knit community. They kind of really help each other out. When I was looking at film festivals, they really answered a lot of my questions. They're very nice about this. They're really in it, not for the money, but for making films. And that's why I think a lot of the people who use this site will be drawn back to it and that sort of thing. The target, the marketing strategy is really what can you do once you have just one group of people coming to your website. Like I said, you can sell advertising to the film production companies, because what is that the people looking at your site are people who have created films in the past, who are currently looking for festivals to submit to, who are in the future going to make films. So that's a very tightly knit group of people, and you can offer all kinds of advertising to equipment, production sales, equipment rentals, that sort of thing, processing labs, Kodak, things like that, and possible sponsorships for bigger companies who, might actually buy the site or, kind of run the whole advertising scheme for it. That's an option. But as far as international markets are concerned, it's for all the festivals in the world. So hopefully it is in English and it's not in any other language. But we've already gotten one from somewhere. I think it was Bulgaria or something. So we got a response from from one of the festivals, and in their broken English, they did fill out the profile, and hopefully as long as they have the internet, anybody in the world can access it. And this is definitely, there's 1,600 festivals in the world, probably more. So as long as everybody kind of is in on it, we'll get that market.
How do you keep your site sticky? Do you analyze your site's weblogs?
Well, we haven't gone live yet, so we don't know how effective this will be and how many people will actually go to it. And as far as keeping people coming back to the site on a regular basis, although our content itself is relatively consistent, like once a festival does update their info, they're probably not going to change a description about their festival or something like that. But what they will change maybe are the fee structure, or the types of films that they accept, or dates, obviously. And that's one of the things that really changes on a regular basis. We're thinking of incorporating like a ticker of all the festivals that are on that week. So you're going to want to come back a lot to check out, all the festivals that are going on, that sort of thing. As far as searching and the tools for a filmmaker to come back, if you're a filmmaker, the idea of the website is to be a really useful tool for the filmmaker and essentially not require them to keep coming back and click through lots of things. It's supposed to be a really useful tool. So a filmmaker comes to our site, they have a film, they know everything about their film, they know exactly what type of festival they want to submit to, they search in our bar, they get 40 festivals responded, returned, they look through all of them, they write down the ones they want, they can easily print out the submission form, that sort of thing, and then in one sitting can essentially get and gather all the materials for all their festival submissions. So I don't know if they'll come back after they submit to all their festivals, but I'm sure, with enough filmmakers making films, we're going to get more and more people.
What statistics do you hope to gather about visitors to your site, and how will the data aid you in your market research?
Well, statistics are a very useful thing, and that's kind of something that we spend some time thinking about. And later on in the creation of the site, we kind of realize how powerful that would be. So a festival has a profile, right, with all their information, including things like their website, a link to their website, a link to their email address, and a link to like their application to submit. So you can just click on it and print out the form, which is a real pain in the butt when you have to go to all these websites and print out and find their forms, their PDF files or their doc files, whatever. As well as another link to Google, to just Google their site, Google their festival to see how it is on the internet. So that's basically their 4 main links on a profile, on a specific festival profile. And there's the link, obviously, when you search for them, you get the listing, and if you click on the listing of that festival, it shows up underneath. That's the profile. So there are 5 basic links. Now we're keeping in the database a number, an account of how many clicks each of these links get. So if a certain festival gets 100 views, we know how many times people click on it. The other cool thing is that we know how many people went from our website to the festival's website by clicking on their web address, which we don't make public. We just say click here for the website. So they click there, a new window pops up, that's the festival's website, but now we get to count that, and we know how many people our site is sending to their site. And we can use that in marketing and possibly prorate some kind of fee structure to be counted in our list. We also have we don't give you an email address of the festival. It also says click here to write an email to them. So you click there, you use our little box, which you type out your email, it gets sent off to them. But obviously, like we all know in Hotmail and Yahoo, at the very bottom it says this email was sent using FilmDevil.com. You know, you're the best film website in the world. So a lot of those things, we're going to have numbers and statistics on how our users and which festivals they go to.
How interactive is your site? What are your plans for increasing the level of interactivity in the future?
The site, how interactive is it? Well, it's pretty much a search engine, you know. There are ways, you know, as a filmmaker you can write reviews, so that's one way of being, you know, interactive. The searching is entirely, you know, customizable. You can search in any way you want and read, you know, all the stuff about the festivals and all the reviews that have been written. As far as the festivals are concerned, they can update their information and change it on whatever basis they want. Hopefully, our plan is to increase the level of interactivity. We're planning on creating essentially a film database. And now everybody knows about the Internet Movie Database and all these other sites that specialize in just lots of films and independent films on the market. But what we're looking for is kind of an approach where a filmmaker would fill out a form about their film, including, you know, synopsis, the running time, the budget, what type of film it is, what type of festival they're looking to apply to, what time periods they're going to be sending it to. Between, you know, October of this year and January of that year, I'm going to be sending this film out to festivals. And what we're hoping is to build a database of currently active films that are currently being sent off to film festivals. And we think that database could be very, very lucrative for the festivals themselves to be able to search, and that's another source of income for us, which I think is probably going to be what ends up making some money, because you know, festivals will pay to have access to just filmmakers who are currently sending off their films, and filmmakers will of course do it because it's a free place on the web where they can put their information. This will be totally free to look at, kind of like Monster.com and resumes. It's free to put your resume on, but the companies that look at them, generally, I'm pretty sure they have to pay to search through that resume database, or at least to take a resume.
How do you plan to build lasting relationships with your customers? How do you plan to keep in touch with customers?
To build a lasting relationship, with our customers. Unfortunately, they're not really buying anything, but they're buying information by spending time on our site. And I guess to keep them coming back, to keep them, you know, knowing about us, I think once you provide filmmakers with this incredibly useful tool, it's going to save them an enormous amount of time. The next time they make a film, they'll have your site in mind, and they're going to come, you know, back to FilmDevil, and they're going to use it to look at their, you know, to search for their festivals. Festivals will, of course, keep it in mind, because this is another free place on the web that allows them to promote their festivals. And it's, you know, it doesn't cost any money at the moment. If it does, it'll only be, you know, like 30 or 40 bucks a year, or something very nominal like that. And for filmmakers, it's totally free. One of the things that we're going to try to build is pretty much a user database. So anytime anybody writes an email using our site, or writes a review, that sort of thing, we're going to log those email addresses and send them emails saying, you know, not spam, not really annoying them, but maybe every month or every 2 months say, hey, you know, you visited our site in the past, you were active on it, you wrote a review or wrote an email, so check it out. You know, we've updated several things since then, that sort of thing. We also want to keep the emails going to the festivals. So, like, say a month after we know the dates of the festival, so we know exactly when the festivals are happening. 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks after the festival happens, we can, shoot off an email to that festival and say, hey, your festival just passed, hope you had a good time, please come back to our site and update your information. Obviously your dates are outdated now, that sort of thing.
What level of customization does your site offer?
Customization is pretty much, you can write reviews, that sort of thing. There's very little customization for the actual user, except the ability to search, for any parameter you want. We're trying to build that up and make it so that you can search virtually anything without text. That's kind of the point. We want it so that you can search by very specific things, like where they are. Our location list is very general and very specific. It can go from continent to country to state to region, or to region to state. So you can say, I want to find all the Northeast festivals, or all the ones in New York, all the ones in Europe, and it's all there. And you can search by anything, and you can write any reviews, that kind of thing. So for the filmmaker, it's relatively customizable.
Do you plan on joining an ad network?
I don't think we're gonna be joining an ad network. We're probably not gonna generate enough people coming to the site, because it is such a specifically targeted site to just filmmakers. Everyone and their mom has a camera, everyone and their mom is making movies, but not that many people are really serious about sending them off to film festivals. We're not gonna get 1 million hits a week, 1 million hits a month. We may never hit 1 million hits in several years, but so ad networks would be totally useless for us, because filmmakers would be much more apt to respond to a banner ad that's, say, from Kodak, or from Arriflex cameras, 16mm cameras, something like that, than they are to respond to like an AT&T or like a Sprint ad, or a Visa ad or something like that. That would be from these ad networks. I'm very much against ad networks, because they're annoying and they really have nothing to do with your site generally. I may be wrong, they may have changed a lot since I looked at them, but regardless, we don't generate even enough traffic to warrant one of them. In the past, I tried to get access to one of the ad networks, and they said, 100 people a month doesn't even qualify. You can't even get, the ad network.
How will you know when your site is successful?
Well, most sites would be successful when they turn profit, but because even if we make 10 cents, it'll be almost profit for us. We're kind of looking more towards, having as many users as possible. So probably after around 6 months, once we release this and it goes live, after the festivals have all updated their information and we sent off kind of the first run of spam to filmmakers, essentially, we'll know just by the statistics if it's successful or not. See if the filmmakers are coming, if the film festivals have updated their information, and we have a really solid database of really useful data, then we're successful, I think. Because really, the key to this is getting the main key to this is getting the festivals to update their information. You can't force them to do that, and it's very tedious to do it yourself, because you can't come up with a good description for a festival that you really know nothing about. You can look at their website, but it doesn't really help. So we want festivals to really participate in this. That's really the idea. And I'm going to be making calls to them to kind of nudge them and get them to update it. I say if we get around 20 or 30% of festivals, which would be around, 400, almost 500, about a third of the group of festivals. If we get around 500 of them or 400 of them to update their information, then I think we've done real well. Especially because once you have 500 festivals updating, you have something very similar to the book that Chris Gore made a lot of money off of. And it's a lot more useful because his book did not cover nearly as much information as we cover in our database.
And thank you very much, Jeff.
My pleasure. I have to get back to my calls now.
Yes. For your
FilmDevil.com.
expertise. And good luck to you.
Hope that was good, Dave. How many times? Oh, it's 25.